What if a country could set off a nuclear bomb, and nobody was supposed to get hurt? In 1971, the Soviet Union did exactly that, not as a weapon, but as a shovel. They were trying to reverse the direction of an entire river. And it was only step one of a plan that could have redrawn the map of an entire continent. Siberia has some of the largest rivers on Earth. But there was a problem, at least in Soviet eyes. These rivers flowed north, into the Arctic Ocean, where nobody could use the water. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers south, the farmlands of Soviet Central Asia, modern-day Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, were drying up. The idea of turning those rivers around wasn't new. A Tsarist surveyor had proposed it back in the 1830s. Soviet engineers picked the idea up seriously in the 1930s. But it wasn't until the Cold War, and the arrival of a terrifying new tool, that the plan became real. So how do you move a river thousands of kilometers off its natural course? The Soviets had one answer, and no engineer had ever tried it before. That tool was the nuclear bomb, repurposed not as a weapon, but as a construction tool. Soviet scientists believed they could use underground nuclear blasts to carve canals through mountains in a fraction of the time it would take machines to dig. In March 1971, they tested the theory. 3 nuclear devices, each with roughly the destructive power of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, were detonated underground in the Ural Mountains, spaced less than 200 meters apart. The goal: begin carving a canal to connect the Pechora River in the north to the Kama River, which fed into the Volga and, eventually, south toward Central Asia. The blast worked. It created a massive crater that filled with water, a place still known today as Nuclear Lake. But the celebration didn't last. Something had gone wrong, or rather, something had gone too right. The explosions were so powerful they were detected as far away as the United States and Sweden. Both countries formally accused Moscow of violating an international nuclear test ban treaty. And that was just the beginning. To finish the canal, engineers estimated they would need hundreds more nuclear explosions. By 1975, the Soviet government approved the full plan, a canal roughly 1,500 kilometers long, powered by nuclear engineering, designed to redirect up to 10% of 2 of Siberia's largest rivers south into Central Asia. Nearly 200 scientific institutions and tens of thousands of workers were involved. Water was supposed to reach Central Asia by 1985. The entire project was supposed to be finished by the year 2000. But something was about to make sure that timeline never happened. But opposition was building. Soviet scientists warned that diverting so much water north could destabilize the Arctic climate. Writers and journalists, in a rare move for the tightly controlled Soviet press, began publishing essays and even novels criticizing the project as reckless. Then, in April 1986, disaster struck. The Chernobyl nuclear reactor exploded, killing dozens and contaminating a vast area of Ukraine and Belarus. Public trust in Soviet nuclear engineering collapsed overnight. 4 months later, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev canceled the river reversal project entirely. Officially, the reasons given were environmental. But historians point to another factor. The Soviet economy was in crisis, oil prices had collapsed, and the government simply couldn't afford it anymore. Today, Nuclear Lake still exists, a quiet, forested crater in the Ural Mountains, with radiation levels that remain elevated nearly 50 years later. It's the only physical trace of a project that could have redrawn the map of Central Asia. And the idea never fully died. In 2008, a former mayor of Moscow published a book arguing the project should be revived. Every few years, someone in the Russian government brings it up again. If the canal had been finished, Central Asia's farmlands might look completely different today. But so might the Arctic, and nobody is entirely sure the trade-off would have been worth it. So here's the real question: was canceling this project the smart move, or the biggest missed opportunity in Soviet history? Tell me what you think in the comments. This is Unbuilt History, where we dig up the engineering projects powerful enough to reshape the world, before they vanished. If you want to see what else almost changed everything, subscribe, because there's a lot more still buried.